Welcome back to On Texas Football. Welcome to our Wednesday night live stream. I am Jeff Howe. He is Bobby Burton. He is CJ Vogel. We'll be taking your questions for roughly the next hour or so. I want to thank our sponsor, our lead sponsor for this edition of On Texas Football. That's our friend Andy Ludicky and My Perfect Franchise. I'll tell you more about My Perfect Franchise here in just a bit. As we get everybody in, thanks everybody for tuning in and hanging out. Chats are welcome. Super chats jump to the front of the line in terms of the conversation here on the live stream. Before we do anything else, where we talk about portal, anything, Bobby, I'll turn it over to you and let you get this started with some news.
Yeah, let me give you an update. Earlier today, we posted on Twitter. One of our cohorts here, Bob Shipley, called me this afternoon. The father of Jordan Shipley. Jordan, I'm not going to go into too many details right now, but he was seriously injured this afternoon. Care flighted to Del Seton Hospital in Austin, where he about an hour and a half or hour ago was beginning a surgery. He has burns, apparently over 20% of his body, third-degree burns. Very, very serious situations. A lot of people are thinking about him right now, and I'd ask that you guys think about him and the Shipley family. They mean so much to us. I don't want to take any more questions on it tonight. I don't think that's appropriate. I think that's for Bob and Jordan and their families to address it. But from when Coach called me, he was about 20 miles out from the hospital, and he was happy that Jordan is in stable but serious condition. At the same time, Jordan's got a lot of things coming ahead of him right now because it's very, very serious. So please join me in thinking about the Shipley family today and Bob and his group as much as possible. That's all I want to say about it. And hopefully you guys can understand that at this point.
Yeah, I'll just I'll echo what Bobby said, and just out of respect for the family, we won't take any questions or anything else. Just again, keep the coach and Jordan and the Shipley family in your prayers. All right, tough to segue from that, but we shall. Moving on with the live stream. Got some portal developments probably within the last hour, 90 minutes before we started the show. The big one is Jake Guarnera, the interior offensive lineman from Michigan, has decided to stay at Michigan. And Andrew Sprague, the other Michigan offensive lineman, the big offensive tackle, has not made a decision yet on what he's going to do. He has been back in the state of Michigan. There's just a lot of moving parts here with the portal, but let's focus on the offensive line real quick. And CJ, I'll start with you. I'll be honest, when it comes to the offensive line, this is the first time I've been concerned. And my concern is not that I think it's doom and gloom or we need to burn down Moncrief or anything like that. It's just that everything in terms of offensive line targets has been extremely close to the vest in terms of what information is getting out. So I'm concerned just for the uncertainty of, okay, your top target on the interior offensive line is now off the board. Where do you go from here?
It's a great question because, like you said, it had been very difficult to get names. It had been very difficult to get an idea of which direction Texas was going to go on the offensive line. And then you hear about the Michigan duo, right? And you say, okay, that makes a lot of sense when you start kind of looking ahead to 2026 and kind of projecting what this offensive line could look like. Perhaps you get an offensive tackle, play right tackle, you spin down Baker, you add another guard, and all right, now you just got to figure out the center position. And then that kind of plays into, well, what's the future of Connor Robertson? So you sit there and you say, hey, this makes sense, right? This makes sense what the blueprint might have been, entering the open portal era. And now you're sitting here saying, okay, well, with Guarnera returning to Michigan, does that mean Sprague is as well? I know that Texas and Sprague met earlier this afternoon. We'll see, right? There was obviously the rumors that they're a package deal right now. I haven't seen or heard anything specifically that leads me to think that one decision will dictate the other in its entirety. But right now you're sitting around and wondering what's next for Texas, considering, hey, the names that were out before the portal, unlike any other position, were very thin and very precise with who they wanted to pursue. Now you kind of have to reevaluate and move forward from here.
Yeah. Bobby, I want to ask you this, and maybe this is too big picture of me right now, but when you look at the offensive line, like let's say Texas ends up getting Andrew Sprague.
Mm-hmm.
Does an offensive line with Trevor Gooseby, Andrew Sprague at tackle, Brandon Baker at one of the guards, Connor Robertson at center, and fill in the blank portal addition at the other guard, does that strike you as an offensive line Texas can go win games with at a high level in 26?
No, absolutely. If they get Sprague, I mean, Sprague is the one that he's the honorable mention All Big Ten guy, not Guarnera. I think that Sprague will likely announce tomorrow. I'm waiting to see. He may end up doing it late tonight. Texas still has some hope there. But with all the other guys going back to Michigan, by the way, Texas wasn't the only one jilted by all the guys going back to Michigan. Zeke Perry, the cornerback, returned to Michigan as well today after entering his name in the portal. So did a couple of others. I would say this. The problem I have right now for Texas is I think Brandon Baker would be a good guard next year. One more year at guard, or a year at guard, and then pop out to right tackle again. I think he's got that kind of ability. And so I think Sprague is a nice piece. If Connor Robertson is staying, which is what's leaning to happening right now, is what I'm being told, then that puts Texas in the need really for two more starting level offensive linemen. If they lose on Sprague, I do think that they'll bring two other guys in by the end of this week. Okay. That's what I'm being told. We don't have the names to them, and we're not going to release them at this point. But I'm being told that Texas will bring in two other offensive linemen by the end of this week. Hold me to it. Hold the source to it. Whatever you want to do. But that's where the offensive line recruiting is at. It is fluid. I think that Guarnera, going back to Michigan, did put a plan, alter a plan somewhat. But Sprague has always been the real jewel of that group. He's the one that's the all Big Ten guy. So we'll see how it goes. And for people that say Texas isn't all in, well, yeah, they are all in. They just, you're not going to win all of them if you're going big game hunting. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
And that's where some people you just mistake that.
No doubt. We got to thank our sponsor here, but before we do that, I want to get to this. CJ, wait,
we have a commitment. We have a commitment.
Yeah, that CJ, you can confirm that just went live.
Yes.
All right,
Texas.
let's go ahead and talk about it. Yeah, Bo Masco, the Rutgers corner.
Bo Masco has committed to the University of Texas. That happened in the last minute and a half. So, hey, look, there's some positivity because I know that we had the thread over at On Texas Football. I actually crashed the website there for a minute with the gloom and the doom, but Texas back on the board in the portal here with Bo Masco. Of course, there's connection to Corners coach Mark Orfe. He arrived on campus yesterday. He met with Coach Orfe. He met with Coach Muschamp as well. And then, of course, he returned today to kind of finalize everything. And, Bobby, we talked about it a little bit. Some coaches were on the road today. Coach Orfe stayed behind a little bit in Austin, sealed the deal there with Masco. Now Texas has a guy who's played well over 550 snaps and earned himself some all Big Ten honorable mention in 2025 as well. So there you go. Texas back on the board. You know, you're starting to hear the beeps again on the resuscitator, whatever that machine is in the hospital bed. Texas gets themselves a cornerback out of the portal.
You're good. What is this with the beeps back on? I mean, God, 6 commitments in 3 days. You guys are CJ, you guys are.
I'm just reading what the chat says.
You guys are incorrigible, man. Have you not learned any patience whatsoever?
No need.
Oh my God, that Cam Coleman's still out there. You got Andrew Sprague still out there. You got Jaden Woods, who Will Muschamp went to see today up in Kansas City. I mean, come on. Christian Alliegro, who visited not just Texas, but Ohio State. You can be all in and lose to Ohio State. Texas does it in recruiting all the time, guys. I mean, Jerry just reported, by the way, the linebacker from Cal will be visiting Texas later this week as well. Cade Ulu Lava, I believe is his name. Yeah, I don't know how to say it exactly, but look, those are really, really talented players that can play for anybody in the country. I mean, let's give it time. Let's give it time. Just got the top corner they wanted on the board, by the way.
Yeah.
In the last 1.5 minute or whatever it was CJ quoted.
I understand people are upset. I'm not gonna live in the doom and gloom. I'm not. I just can't. Mental health wise, honestly, I can't function that way. So
why are you? But I don't understand why they're doom and gloom. Because they didn't get the running back they wanted in the portal. Is that why?
Well,
either of them. I think that's part of it.
Okay, so running back hasn't been addressed, right? All right, that's fine. I think it'll be addressed. Raleek Brown's coming tomorrow, and I think there's another guy that's coming in later this week that none of you guys know the name of.
If I can,
I feel like what I'm saying here, guys, in all of these, you guys need. There is a level here of understand that we want to see some results. Okay.
100%.
We haven't seen enough results to make judgments that say fire Brandon Harris, send Sark to the Falcons, or we should just quit. It's some of this is just like it's not even funny. It's just hilarious. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, give me a break. I mean, let this. We are 4 days into this, and they have 6 commitments. There's still a week and a half of the portal to be open. Guys that are still playing in the playoffs right now are going to go in the portal in a week or 2 weeks, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Let it happen. Do not rush to conclusions.
I got you. I'll let everybody lay on the couch and I'll be the therapist real quick. I've even got a yellow pad here somewhere so I can make some notes. I think there's two schools of thought. One is that every fan base has folks, and I'll never forget Craig Way telling me this. The night Texas wins the national championship, he's leaving the Rose Bowl and he's listening to the actually he's still in the press box. He's listening to the post-game radio show, the call-in feed, and everybody, hey, celebrating national championship, Vince Young's the greatest, whatever, down with USC. Somebody calls in right after Texas wins the national championship and says, hey man, as many rush yards as we gave up tonight, I'm really worried about the defense next year. So like there's gonna be some people that just need something to complain about. I think it's the bigger picture. I think the legitimate concern is, at least the way I see it, you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, there's a concern, I think, among this fan base, and rightfully so. You got one shot with Arch Manning to do this, to maximize him while he's at Texas. And the concern is, man, if you don't get all of your needs in the portal, maybe what if you don't maximize Arch? Then what does the trajectory for the program look like at that point? That, to me, that's not a reason to, want to think the world's going to end, but it is a legitimate concern that, hey, if you don't meet your needs and you're not in the playoff with Arch Manning as your quarterback next year, what does that mean for the long-term trajectory of this program? I think that to me is something that you can legitimately question and be concerned about. Not that I'm saying it's going to happen or that I'm projecting anything, but if you are concerned, I think that's something that, okay, yeah, you can have concern about. Because let's be honest, Bobby, you talked about it, the plan to be all in, like you're not going to get all your targets. This isn't guaranteed to work. Nothing's guaranteed to work. Like, as much as I love the Will Muschamp move, it's not guaranteed to make you infinitely better on defense. It's all a calculated risk, and that's the uncertainty is the nervous part of it, I guess.
Well, you're going to have to deal with uncertainty for a little while longer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I would tell people. I mean, look, Jaden Woods is a tremendous player. You're trying to take him away from a program that has a proud history itself in Florida and a new coach and all this other stuff and just as much money in some ways. They can, if Texas money whips away, Florida can money whip them back. You guys got to understand that Texas is in this situation right now because they're going big game hunting. You think, has Cam Coleman committed to A&M? Are A&M fans showing signs of the apocalypse over there? I mean, give me a break. Texas Tech is signing guys from Ball State and Miami of Ohio. Probably some good players, but Texas is competing against Ohio State, against Alabama, A&M, Florida, Michigan. What do you want me to tell you? Those guys haven't made. I mean, yeah, Aggies, you're getting one of them's from Tulsa. I get it, guys. I get it, but I think that y'all are missing the real truth here. Texas is doing fine. You just need to calm down, and they need to get these guys that they think they have a real chance at. Are they going to go up 10 for 10? The answer is no, they're not. But if they get guys with juice and guys that can play at an elite level, let's have it. Let's have it happen. But you guys need to wait.
Bobby, I'm still hung up on you talking about what our A&M fans think, because that's getting inside the mind of an Aggie, and that's a place none of us really want to be. None of us need to be. Hey, real quick, I do want to address this before, because we do need to thank our lead sponsor, Andy Ludigy, My Perfect Franchise. Before we do that, though, CJ, real quick, on the Texas running back situation, Raleek Brown still out there as a top target. Bobby mentioned that earlier, the visit to come. But with running backs on campus, what is the latest with this Christian Clark situation? I know you talked about it on TexasFootball.com here within about the last half hour.
Yeah, really interesting. Of course, Christian Clark was a name, I guess, coming into this portal window, at least ending the month of December. It had kind of been circled as one to keep an eye on going into the portal window. There had been some chatter behind the scenes that he was a guy that, look, considering how this year played out, considering where Texas was hoping to go in the portal at the running back position, might be looking elsewhere for his 2026 season. That was chatter going into the bowl game. Obviously, Texas gave him every single opportunity in the bowl game, aside from a carry or two from Michael Terry, with a yard or two to go and near the goal line. And so he maximized his opportunity. Texas gave him every opportunity to do exactly that. They're still meeting Christian Clark and Texas, just as there are still meetings to go with Texas and a number of other young freshmen, a number of other young guys that are still waiting to see where they fall in the pecking order for the 2026 roster. But right now, Clark is a guy that, considering where some of the murmurs had come from previously, still circling his name, saying, hey, not out of the woods completely yet. I don't know yet if there's been a deal signed for 2026 or anything along the lines of that. Just saying that the possibility of Clark and Texas moving on, or one or the other, is very possible.
Yeah,
as there probably the case for a number of other young freshmen as well.
Texas is not done losing guys to the portal.
Nope,
no chance.
Yeah. No, we'll pick that back up, Bobby. We do need to thank we got tons of super chats to get to, but we need to thank our lead sponsor for tonight's live stream. That's Andy Ludigy and My Perfect Franchise.
Yeah, Andy is a longtime friend of mine. He will help you figure out your next business. If you're interested in owning a franchise and looking to leave the corporate rat race, Andy has a system whereby he takes you through it line by line, and it tells you what kind of franchise you might be best for, and he gives you options that might work for you. So if you're looking for something else in 2026 as we start the new year, make sure you reach out to Andy at myperfectfranchise.net. That's 404-973-9901, or Andy at myperfectfranchise.net.
All right, guys, let's get to some of these super chats. KD35, I am the best. Thank you for the super chat. So this is absolutely embarrassing. Like CJ said, no O-line. WTF. Is this staff currently doing these portal kids? Wait, what WTF is this staff currently doing these portal kids, or just playing Texas for raises? I don't know, Bobby. That's the one thing that I'm having trouble wrapping my head around. Everybody's getting leveraged at this point. It's not just Texas. These guys are visiting multiple schools. The one thing I will push back on, and Bo Masco is a perfect example. Like, he visits Texas, I think goes to visit Ohio State, and then ends up committing to Texas. Just because guys visit and then leave, that doesn't mean all hope is lost. Just like Christian Alliegro visited Texas, you visit Ohio State, maybe he visits somewhere else. I don't know, but he has emerged as probably one of the top linebackers on Will Muschamp's board. So yeah, and as an agent, again, these guys that do have representation, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be getting the top dollar you can for your client. So, man, it's the way I see it. That's not a Texas problem to me, Bobby. That's just part of the game.
It is part of the game. And so that's the agent's job, right? The thing that's happened to Texas this year, and I think to many teams now, is guys go into the portal or announce for the portal and then actually rescind it. That hasn't been happening in years past. Maybe happened once or twice, right? That's becoming much more common. And to the Super Chat's point, in my opinion, that has been a factor in it. So in other words, and it makes it look like they're more just getting raises, correct? So it's not just you're leveraging the market without actually playing the market. So it's a little bit of a chance you're taking, but if your team will take you back after allowing you go into the portal, then they are just testing the market to get maybe a raise. I mean, anybody think that Jaden Ball didn't get more money by not going in the portal, but waiting to announce his return for 10 days or whatever, 5 days here? I think he did.
CJ, I don't know if you got anything to add on this, but I'll just say too, just backing up Bobby's point a little bit. You look at Jake Guarnera, Jaden Woods, who Texas is also these guys are at schools that have gone through coaching changes, so they're still, yes, they're in the portal, but they're still a new staff they've got to get to know. So it's, you can call it leveraging or whatever. Again, to me, it's just part of the game. Any thoughts on this one, CJ?
Yeah, I think there's two parts that I think are relevant to this 2026 portal window for Texas. First, I mean, you go back over the last couple of portal windows. I think Texas, in a way, was very spoiled. Texas fans were spoiled. I think Texas did actually a great job of targeting players out of the portal and getting them on campus and immediately signing them. Right? That's something that you probably didn't have to deal with a whole lot, right? I only remember what Trey Moore a couple of years ago took the trip to Ohio State, and you sat around and said, okay, well, does he make it to Bama? Because he's a kid right down the road where you say, what's he got to do? How can Texas get him in the boat? Whereas, Adonai Mitchell, straight to Texas. Matthew Golden, straight to Texas. Andrew Makuba, straight to Texas. So I think that had become part of the expectation, especially considering, what I had been up here preaching with all of us saying, hey, Texas is going to be very aggressive when it comes to this portal window. Now, when you sit there and say, oh, well, he's also taking 3, 4, 5, 6 other visits, whoa, wait a minute. I thought Texas was in on it with this kid, and they obviously still are. As you mentioned, Bobby, there's still plenty of room to go. There's 10 days remaining in the portal. So that's part of it that I think has been lost is as you start aiming for higher and higher prospects that are considering better and better schools, it's part of the game that I think over the last few years, it wasn't necessarily what we had become accustomed to when dealing out of the portal. So it's a bit of an adjustment period there. The other thing for me, and I think this is where the frustration on my end starts, as well as I'm sure out of the chat, is when you hear a position of need and the first name 2 or 3 that you hear, you would assume are targets 1, targets 2, targets 3. Well, at the running back spot specifically, now obviously you've seen it at the offensive line. You sit there and you say, okay, well, if this was the plan and you already say, Trey Wisner, we don't want you back for that price tag. Well, what's the next plan of action, course of action if you're Texas? Is that up to is that even known? Is that something that they have to still deliberate with? Or is that something that behind the scenes they don't want anybody else knowing? And I'm sure there's a large part of that. But that's kind of the frustration is, well, if the idea was that, hey, they had this kind of set up before the portal opened and then it doesn't fall through, and now you're kind of sitting around looking like you've been sitting on your hands all day. Well, that's kind of what else is, the belief there. So on top of that, I know that, sources are sources. You got to protect. I mean, you got to sit there and believe in your guys. And I think ultimately one thing for me is when it comes to it, I think Texas has the plan in action, and I think Texas is going to find a way to get it done. It's just difficult when you see other schools across the way getting needs, figured out right away.
By guys from Miami of Ohio.
Hey, players are players.
Yeah. Look, I mean, if Texas wanted to go out and didn't want to go big game hunting, they could have already been done at offensive line. That's what I mean. They could have been done at receiver. It would have been chill And everybody, I guess, would be going kumbaya right now. But you wouldn't be after the wide receiver that everybody wants in the portal right now. You wouldn't be after the defensive end that everybody wants in the portal. You wouldn't be after the top. I mean, Aliegro's down to Texas and Ohio State. I mean, Ululave is a all ACC performer at linebacker. Sprague is a all Big Ten tackle. I mean, the difference is you can go get those guys that aren't super high quality guys. You can. And I'm not saying that they're not good players, but do you want to risk being great? Or do you want to dare to be great? Or you just want to take guys? I mean, yeah, Texas can find an offensive guard. They're not hard to find. They really aren't. Do y'all want somebody that's okay? Y'all want somebody that's good, that's possibly great? That's what Texas is after here. You can't, they're not just all replaceable. I mean, you think Cam Coleman is replaceable in the portal? Think there's another Cam Coleman out there?
No, definitely not.
Okay. I don't either. You think there's another Jaden Woods in the portal? Oh, maybe one. The guy from Penn State who happens to be the number 1 or 2 defensive end of the portal, and Jaden Woods is the other. These guys, you're going to have to play the game to try to get these guys. Are you going to miss some when you go big game hunting? Absolutely. But if you land the elephant, you land the elephant. And you move forward, you're a better team because of it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think one thing I will push back on is the idea that Texas doesn't have contingency plans. I refuse to believe this is just maybe me being naive. I just refuse to believe that Steve Sarkisian, and we can talk about Brandon Harris or Kyle Flood or whoever, the buck stops with Sark. Like, he is the head of the organization. I just refuse to believe that he would be that reckless isn't the right word to use, but just, hey, put all your eggs in one basket and not have something. Okay, this didn't work out. What's plan B? Let's go dive into that. I just refuse to believe that he wouldn't do that he'd be that short-sighted. So we'll see. And I'll echo something Jerry Hamilton's talked about. Jerry's talked about, and it's true. It plays out every year in the portal. Even if you're going after tier 1 guys and you miss on them, depending on the position, I think wide receiver being one of them, you can find a tier 2 or tier 3 guy that for your needs is really effective and helps your football team and helps you win games. But again, I don't mind the strategy at all of going big or going home. And then we'll see what the pivot is for Texas after that. Let's go ahead, guys. We got to get to some of these super chats. Oscar Elizondo, thank you for the super chat. So there's a difference between not getting everyone and losing out on almost every big name you thought you were in a good position for. I'm never one for overreaction, but this seems like a terrible miscalculation by Sark and company. And then Oscar with a follow-up also. And you can't call someone who never went in the portal a loss is unacceptable, because as of last week, all the talk was about Texas pushing for guys behind the scenes who weren't in yet. Again, until that guy goes in, that's the thing about guys going in the portal, Bobby. Until they go in, they and the school they are attached to, that's where all the leverage lies. There's only so much you can do until that guy is actually in the portal, gone through compliance, and is available.
So I actually agree with this. The first part, the first super chat here, I disagree with Oscar on. Okay, can you put the first part back up? The one that was in orange. Look, I disagree with the idea that Texas has lost out on almost everybody. They got the top defensive tackle they wanted over the ball. Did they not? They got him. They got their number 1 corner, correct?
Yep.
Okay. They got a blocking tight end. They needed that. Now, all the other positions are still TBD. They're still out there. The only one that I would say, you know what, you're right, is running back. And that comes to Oscar's second part of his question. You can't say it's a loss if you thought you were going into the portal. I agree with this part of it, because you got to remember, Isaac Brown said he was going into the portal.
Yeah.
Okay. So it wasn't like we said he was going to the portal. He said he was going into the portal. And apparently there were positive discussions between agents or with agents, etc. So yes, that is of all the things that we've talked about, that's the one that should sting behind the scenes. Plus, Jaden Ball was thought to be leaving. Completely agree with you guys. So I'm not here to disagree with that point. The first point, like they're just losing on everybody, is just untrue. It's untrue. Let's see what Jaden Woods decides tonight or tomorrow or later this week. Let's see what Cam Coleman decides later this week. Then we'll have enough data. Right now, we do not have the data, and you guys are trying to make it such that we have the data. We don't have it yet. We could say by Friday or Saturday, we could say, ooh, we went all in and we didn't, the data is right, or the data is bad. We didn't get who we wanted. Or we could look up Friday and Saturday and say, ooh, the data looks good. We got who we wanted, or most of it. That's all there is to it. I mean, we're reacting too quickly right now.
Yeah, and to that point, additionally, new names that will pop up over the next 10 days. New names from playoff teams that will enter the portal when their run is done. So, it's part of it. What is it? 4 days in, still got 10 to go, essentially.
Okay, we'll get to the supers, but can I give you guys a good idea of a guy that wasn't considered a tier 1 guy at this time a year ago? When the winter portal window opened, did any of us consider Hero Canoe a tier 1 guy?
No, absolutely not.
I didn't. He ended up being one of your top 2 or 3 defensive linemen this year. So again, if you have to pivot at some of these positions, we'll see where the pivot is and what you did. But again, you can still, depending on the position, you can still find quality guys. But I don't have a problem with Texas trying to go for the top guys on the board, or the day team who are the top guys. Oscar, thank you for the super chat. Juan Garza with the super chat. Thank you. Juan says, this Texas team is like the Cowboys. They are hard to watch. Is this how the 2026 season is going to be? Sheesh. Also, this is not regular recruiting. Going to your strategy, start slow and close fast. Tech, A&M, OU are whipping your butt. I mean, we've kind of talked about this a lot. I mean, look, A&M has a ton of holes to fill. So does Oklahoma. So does Texas Tech. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are off the top of my head, but it's well into the double digits of the starters you got to replace. I know Texas has holes too, but it's not as many. I don't know how, Bobby, I don't know how else I can reinforce this. Just there are some schools, the one that I thought about in all this chaos, I was on Arkansas. Arkansas might end up signing 30 guys out of the portal. And you might say, wow, Arkansas killed it in the portal. Well, no, in some ways they're signing 30 guys because they just need bodies to fill out the roster. So again, you can have the quality, quantity argument, whatever the case is. But look, I think there's this pie in the sky belief. I think for every fan base hopes that their school gets their needs met in the portal. Not every FBS program, not every Power 4 program is going to get every single one of their needs met in the portal the way that they sought out. There just aren't enough quality players like that to go around. As Jerry said, somebody's going to get left holding the bag. To your point, Bobby, I just hope by the time the dust settles and the music stops, it's not Texas.
Yeah, I think that the needs for Texas are less than the needs for Texas Tech and Texas A&M. I mean, Texas doesn't need a quarterback. Texas doesn't need an entire defensive line like A&M does. Texas doesn't need an entire offensive line like A&M does. I mean, A&M has more needs overall than Texas, unquestionably. Yeah. And Texas Tech needs an entirely new defense, except one corner. So, I get it. But would you rather have Colin Simmons returning or some guy in the portal that, LSU's trying to get? Would you rather have Arch Manning or Brennan Hornsby? Would you rather have Trevor Gooseby or, Zalance Hurd? It all depends on the position and what Texas has coming back. I think it's just the portal is part of roster construction. For Texas Tech, it's 75 to 85% of roster construction. For Texas, it's about 35%. For A&M, it's getting closer to 50 to 60%. There's just different levels of volume needed in the portal for these different teams. For Ohio State, 10 to 15%, 20%. It's just different for different teams.
Yeah, Texas has been around 15-ish%, give or take, and we'll see where they end up. CJ, do you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think having read the board throughout the afternoon, and I know the chat's having fun tonight as well. One thing that probably isn't being mentioned enough here, and probably adds to some of the heightened emotions, I would say, is hey, you don't have that spring portal. So when it comes to building that roster right away, if you're off to a slow start, you're sitting there saying, we can't sit around and go through a spring and then address everything at the end. So I think that's something else here is, yes, you still have 10 days, and Texas is going to be very busy to build and construct and fill out that roster in the next 10 days. But, if you go back, it was Emmett Mosley that Texas signed April 11th, and you sit there and you say, okay, well, they went through the spring, they evaluated things. You got to get it right on your first go. And I think that's something that, again, when you kind of sit here and see how dominoes fall or how names, go in or out or whatever it is, you got to sit there and say, okay, make sure that the plan's in place. Because Jeff, to your point, however deep this staff goes when it comes to positional, approaches, whether it's A, B, C, D, plan, whatever, they got to make sure that they find something in this portal window.
Bobby, if I miscalculated something really bad with this portal window, then CJ just said something that triggered it for me right there. I knew it was going to be volatile. I guess I underestimated the level of volatility because I didn't expect it to be. I knew it was going to be crazy, but I wasn't prepared for the level of crazy, for lack of a better term.
As we were talking just now, imagine everybody wanting to talk about Texas. Imagine you're the University of Washington right now, and about 5 minutes ago, your quarterback just went into the portal.
Oh, did he really?
Yes. I mean,
wow.
This is not normal, to your point, Jeff. It's not normal. This is an abnormal year in many different ways. And that's why it's part of the reason why I think there's caution. There needs to be caution when we start trying to judge 4 days into it. So yeah, the Washington quarterback has
Von
gone
Williams,
with a do not contact tag.
Oof.
I mean, he's the heartbeat of their team.
And that's tough. That's tough because
how quickly life can change in the portal.
Yeah, and I don't know UW's financial situation if they would have been in on the top guys, but Sorsby and Hoover and that first wave of quarterbacks, they're off the board.
Accounted for.
Yeah, that is tough. Let's go ahead and thank a couple of our sponsors here real quick before we move on and get to some of these super chats. Say thank you to our friends over at Duck Camp. Duck Camp makes gear for folks who live for being out there, whether that's in a duck blind at sunrise or on the 40 acres for a Saturday kickoff. Born right here in Austin, Duck Camp builds best-in-class hunting and fishing apparel that works just as well for a full day in the field as it does for a long day of tailgating. From sun protection shirts that keep you cool during those early season scorchers to their iconic game series hats that feel like instant classics, Duck Camp gear is ready for football season, hunting season, and every season in between. Get out there, stay out there, and hook 'em. Shop Duck Camp at duckcamp.com. And on Texas football fam, don't forget, use the promo code ONTexas25. That's ONTexas25 to save 25% off of your order at duckcamp.com. And now, with the help of a couple of lifetime Longhorns, let's say thank you to our friends over at Advanced Pain Care.
Pros know the pain stops here.
Physical therapy helps me as an athlete then and now. And do I still need therapy? Yes. And Advanced Pain Care helps with that.
Injuries will stack up. They'll add up. You can't let those injuries get you down, and Advanced Pain Care has been very helpful for me.
We can help with whatever's got you down, from nerve damage to our spinal cord stimulator. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Same-day appointments available.
Advanced Pain Care. The pain stops here.
Me, Colt, and Vince are all about the same age. I feel those guys. My back's been a little crunchy the last couple mornings, so maybe I need to go see Advanced Pain Care. I don't know. Let's get back to the super chats. Bald Father Betts, thank you for the super chat. Got a couple of back-to-back ones. It's Quincy Porter, question mark. First for Jordan, Quincy Porter, the Ohio State wide receiver, has announced, I believe that's an intention to enter the portal. I don't know if he's in fully yet. And then, Bobby, what did the diving board picture mean? I think that was Jerry's meme picture over in one of the threads on the site.
I do not know what. Don't get me to try to explain Jerry Hamilton. There are things in this world that are too difficult for even the smartest of folks. And reading Jerry's mind is one of those. Good luck if you can figure all of that out. By the way, he said prayers to Jordan. let's reset a little bit for people that just joined us, because we have a lot of people coming in. Former Texas legend Jordan Shipley, and whose dad works with us here at On Texas Football. Great guy, great family. Jordan was severely injured earlier today in a wreck on his ranch. He suffered injuries and burns to over 20% of his body, third-degree burns. He was life flighted or care flighted to Del Seaton in Austin. And about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, he was under the first surgery he's going to have. He is in serious but stable condition as of 6:30 this afternoon. I talked to his dad, Bob, who is on his way to see Jordan and his family. So we wish them nothing but the best and are thinking about them deeply. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Let's get back to our super chats. Juan Garza with another super chat. Thank you. Juan says, is Brandon Harris's job on the line based on what happens at the end of the portal?
Based on what happens, not what happened, but what happens. I think every GM's job is. So I don't think it's unique to Brandon. Now Brandon just signed an extension, by the way. I think there's faith in Brandon Harris in Austin. So, but everybody's, I mean, that's the way. Is Steve Sarkisian's job on the line after he finishes a football season? Well, of course, that's the way it is. But I don't think Brandon Harris's job is truly on the line or anything here, guys. I think Texas has a top 5 roster in college football. I mean, he's partially responsible for that. So I don't think that his job is on the line here. I think there's some overreaction going on a little bit.
Yeah, you're on pace. Trevor Goosby still announcement to make, but you're on pace right now to have 3 of probably the top 15-ish picks in the 27 draft on your roster right now. I know it goes beyond that, but to your point, Bobby, this is still a really talented roster. Dustin Jones. Go ahead, Bobby. Sorry.
Jelani McDonald's back. I mean, there's Ty Anthony Smith's back. I mean, you just got a number of guys.
Yep. Dustin Jones, thank you for the super chat. Said now Cam Coleman is reported to be visiting Alabama. What's going on with all these young men using Texas to get a bigger payday at their own schools? CJ, we talked about this earlier. I don't think this is just a Texas issue. No. I think this is agents doing the best job they can for their clients, which is it's all part of the game now.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And again, going back to a point earlier, normally whenever kids would enter the portal, you either take your name out immediately or you go to the one school and you're there. Right now you're seeing the agents run the game more than they ever have before in the world of college football, especially out of the portal. And that means, hey, leverage is king. Getting your name out to a number of competitors, that is the way to make the most bang for your buck. If you're an agent, and hey, that's basically your job, is to make sure that your client is taken care of financially. It's part of it. Texas, Ohio State, USC is a big one. Texas Tech now is a big one when it comes to when you hear these schools, money is going to be increased. The financial requisites to get these guys to sign is going to be heightened. So that's something that's always going to be a part of it this year. Obviously, no different. But look, Cam Coleman, that's going to be a big one. He's expected at Texas Tech tomorrow. So again, we'll see where things go from there with Cam Coleman. Alabama, he's got a very close connection to Auburn with their wide receivers coach that they just hired over there as well now. So a lot going on in the Cam Coleman, situation. It's, again, just like every other high-profile recruitment, very fluid as well.
Bobby, just to reiterate again for those jumping on, Bo Maxwell, the cornerback, committed to Texas tonight. Right as we were coming on the air, that was official. So that's good for Texas to get their top corner on the board. Bobby, Jaden Woods, the edge from Florida, is back home in the Kansas City metro area. Probably going to decide here in the next 48, 72-ish hours, probably.
24 to 48. Yeah, I think that's more. I think it's closer. And I really think it's down to Texas and Florida at this point. I think Oregon's not a major factor here. He'll either sign with Texas or he'll return to Florida. Will Muschamp met with him earlier today. And John Sumrall and the Florida staff met with him, or was supposed to be meeting with him this early afternoon or late afternoon, early evening, and we'll see where he goes from here. But Texas got that first visit, and I do think Texas is very, very interested. We'll see how this goes. I don't know how to handicap it here. I couldn't tell you if it's 50-50, for example, or 75-25, either way. But Texas absolutely wants and has been very aggressive in their pursuit of Jaden Woods, who they think is as good a pass rusher in the portal as is available.
And I will reiterate too, they being John Summerall and that new Florida staff, they view Woods in that same category. They view Jaden Ball and Dallas Wilson as a guy that they absolutely want to have back, would love to have him be a big part of their program going forward. Killer, thank you for the super chat. The Sark could turn water into wine and y'all would be complaining. Portal has been open for 4 days. Either you trust the staff or you don't. We literally went out and got a new running backs coach and defensive coordinator. That's where I'm at. I mean, look, CJ, there's a reason to be concerned when you miss on your top interior offensive line target, as I talked about earlier, with Jake Guarnera deciding to stay at Michigan. It's the uncertainty. We don't know where they're going to go for interior offensive line help. They're going to go somewhere. We just don't know yet right now publicly where, and that's the big thing behind the scenes. They've got their fallback plan, but we don't know what the plan is publicly. Yeah, that's why you can be concerned, but I'm going to wait till the dust settles, till the music stops, so to say, before I render a verdict.
Well, what's the fun in that, Jeff? I mean, come on. We got the pitchforks waiting for you out back.
I know. Y'all can, they can keep them. I'll stay over here. I'll stay over here with my nuance and my logic and reason.
Yeah, but I mean that's part of it, right? It's the unknown. It's hey, you got 10 days left. Let's see where they go, and I think that's part of it as well. As you just don't quite know where that is, where. So it's the suspense that adds, and it's fun for chatter. It gets the boards going, but ultimately the unknown is it's the unknown. You just got to wait it out.
No doubt. Always an era of uncertainty. Bandit, thank you for the super chat. Said, I love you guys. We love you too, Bandit. I love everybody, no matter, hey, whatever your opinion is, whatever you want to say, welcome all opinions. I appreciate it. Oscar with another super chat says, CJ and Bobby always cheer. Maybe CJ, you're spreading cheer, you're spreading love, spreading joy.
On the day of the gloom, Jeff? No way.
When I think of CJ Vogel, I think of spreading cheer and spreading joy.
Sounds like Santa.
Cisco Diaz, hey, he's a little bit late, but better late than never. Cisco Diaz, thank you for the super chat. Says, I'll say it for you, Bobby. People are ignorant. I mean, look, I don't want to keep beating this drum, but yeah, it's frustrating. It's uncertain, but hey, Bobby, I don't know what else I can say about it at this point.
No, there's not much. I mean, look, I think we've been pretty clear. I think people need to show some patience. They're wanting Rome built in a day, and it doesn't work that way when you're going after the best players in the country. I mean, is Alabama going to just let Cam Coleman walk out the door? Is A&M or Texas Tech and Cody Campbell? No. Florida just giving up on Jaden Woods? No. Is Ohio State or going to let Christian Alliegro walk to Texas as opposed to go to Ohio State? No. That's not how this world works, guys. And I think that as long as you understand that Texas is big game hunting, they're not going. I mean, like the Kenny Ozawalu that went to Oklahoma today. Texas ended up not offering him an NIL deal. So those are the things that are happening. They brought him in, and he wasn't necessarily as big as they thought. Those things happen, and I think that that's one of the things that Texas is trying to be very discerning. They're not just saying, okay, we want everybody. It's not the first time that's happened in this portal period too, by the way. So I think that if people would understand that Texas is making choices as opposed to, I think people think this is all happening to Texas and Texas isn't an active participant in it almost. You mentioned the fact that if Texas, Jeff, loses out on the two offensive linemen, you're concerned. I share your concern. Okay. Mm-hmm. But also I was told that Texas likely feels like if that's the case, they would probably fill up at offensive line by the end of the week. Yeah. But the problem is we don't I think one of the issues to be a fan and take this at face value is very difficult because I haven't given them any names that are in the portal to talk about that might be possible replacements, right? And so they don't, with the absence of that information, they can't necessarily react appropriately. But look, I think Texas is doing well right now, and they just need to see this through. Hopefully, they get some guys that can provide some real juice to this roster headed into 2026, because they are going after what I would call difference makers.
Bobby, how's the portal running in your house? Are you you keep the door open? Could Jenny run down what the Texas board is right now in terms of portal targets?
Mm-mm.
Are you?
Oh, well, I'm not gonna show. Yeah, no.
You keeping all that in the home office, I guess.
Yeah. Doesn't
Can
work that way.
portal Bobby's unshaven face? Hey, I will back Bobby in this. I'm unshaven as well. We've had a water issue here at the house in our little area of Hayes County. We're on a boil water notice, so shaving is something definitely on my to-do list, but I'm hanging tight for just a minute. So not a lot of, the portal doesn't leave a whole lot of time for extensive grooming. Hook'em Nation, thank you for the super chat. Said, can we just calm down and trust and start prayers for Jordan? Again, yes, just reiterate that. Shout out to the Shipley family. Juan Garza, the super chat, says, okay, Bobby, sorry, as a Cowboys fan, I get like this. Sorry, I have a right to, you have a right to yell at me. I can take it. I think as Cowboys fans, we, the royal we, have a right to fly off the handle. CJ's a long-suffering fan of it. At least I'm old enough to remember when the Cowboys were actually good. CJ is not. So
today was a step in the right direction for the Cowboys, but that'll end it there. Bobby, I do want to say this. This feels like a little bit. Sorry, my thought almost escaped me. Does this not almost feel like, what is it? The post 4th of July kind of moment that we get almost every year in recruiting, and you sit there and you say, okay, some guys went elsewhere, some guys met with Texas and they committed or whatever. And for 2 months, we almost have to sit there and say, guys,
just wait.
Just wait it out.
Patient. The one thing about Sark, he just doesn't, there's not a lot of scrambling. Like, he doesn't feel like a need to rush on things. And I think that that shows up in recruiting, like regular recruiting. It shows up in the portal. He's going to go after his guys and see if he can get those guys. I'll never forget this past summer when we were going down and we created this graphic. It was a cool graphic, and it was all the players that were going to make their announcements. And every single one of them is didn't go to Texas, didn't go to Texas, and didn't go to Texas, didn't go to Texas, didn't go to Texas. Everybody's like, is Texas going to get any of these guys? And what we ended up finding out, Texas had not prioritized many of them, or most of them. And they had prioritized guys like Tyler Atkinson, guys like James Johnson, and it ended up working out just fine for Texas. I think that is reminiscent of that, and people need to keep that in mind. This isn't Brandon Harris's first rodeo. It's certainly not Steve Sarkisian's or Will Muschamp's or Kyle Flood's or you name it, Johnny Nanson's, etc. So I would just have some patience. Let's see how it plays out and keep following it, because I mean, I think that there are big names out there that will hurt. I mean, it hurt when Jake Guarnera ended up going back to Michigan. There's no doubt about it. But would you have rather not played in that game at all? I mean, there's value in going after and trying to really improve your team. That's what Texas is trying to do right now. And sometimes you're going to hit and sometimes you're going to miss. It's the way it is. Got to take the swing. Got to get the AB in.
I'll do you, Bobby. I'll do you one better. You and I, the last time we worked together, we launched a Texas site in August of 2010. You name a meltdown, I've seen it. I've think of the glorious ones like Charlie Strong losing to Kansas. I've been there. Like think of it, and I've been there. Will Muschamp leaving to take the Florida job on a visit weekend. That was fun. So yeah, this is, hey, bring it on. I'm ready for all the meltdowns. I can handle it. CJ, do you have something?
No.
Okay, I thought you did.
I was enjoying the metaphor. You got to step in the box, Bobby. That's what it is. Some of these recruitments.
Got to take an AB, man. Can't just on deck circle thinking you might have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Hablinski, I saw you, Jason. We got your super chat to get to. We'll get to that here in just a second. Bobby, I do want to take a second, though. Thank another one of our sponsors. Let's thank our good friend Mark Saunders, Allstate.
You're in good hands with Allstate. Mark Saunders, the Texas alum, 35 plus years of experience now, helping folks around Central Texas, especially in the Austin and Round Rock area. Give Mark a call, 512-218-8571. That's 512-218-8571, or via email, marksaunders@allstate.com. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Thank you, Bobby. All right, let's roll through these super chats. JMO25, thank you for the super chat. Bobby, do you think Texas needs to shore up Clark before signing portal backs? The ponies from the number one class need to be reined in most certainly.
I don't think that's happening right now. I mean, I think Christian Clark has not re-signed for Texas. And I think, the two sides may not be able to come to an agreement. I don't know the ins and outs of that, but no, I think Texas is trying to, frankly, that's their job. They're going to try to recruit over Christian Clark. Their job is not to give Christian Clark the job at Texas or Trey Wise or anybody else, right? So,
yeah,
that's their job is they're trying to improve the roster.
That's a line of thinking that I got tied up with in high school recruiting at one point. Oh, well, what if you recruit over this guy, or what do you do with this guy? Well, Nick Saban won a lot of football games. Kirby Smart's won a lot of football games. Urban Meyer, go down the list by just stacking talent and letting competition sort it out. CJ, I want to get your thoughts on this. We'll stay with the running back theme because Sailor Joe has a chat. Sailor Joe, thank you for the super chat. Said, looking at the PFF scores, Raleek Brown is better than Trey Wisner. Better is a relative term. I just think they're different. I just think Raleek Brown gives you a little more home run ability than Wisner does.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm kind of leaning as well. And look, for Trey Wisner over the last 2 years, he gave his all to Texas, right? He had some fantastic moments. We look at Texas A&M and Oklahoma in both years saying, wow, that's something that down the road we'll certainly remember. But I also think physically there's also a bit of limitation with Trey, right? He was a guy coming out that had to earn his stripes through special teams, fought through it, obviously, and made a name for him through hard work and sticking with it. But for Raleek, I think there's something there that you don't find very often, and that's the home run ability. That's the pure breakaway speed. Is that to say Texas's run game will be, certainly better next year with him? Could be, right? You still got to figure out that offensive line ahead of him. But what you do know is if you get him in space, the odds of him being chased down or fetched are not very high. And that was something that we mentioned over on the website as well. Raleek Brown's missed forced tackles, his 15-yard carries, very high in terms of Big 12 running backs. And then you compare them to what Texas faced or at least had on their roster a year ago, and far and away clear what Texas put up combined with all of its running backs. So is it running scheme? We'll wait and see, but this is a guy that possesses a lot of talent as well. So that's something to be excited for should his visit to Texas tomorrow go well.
Still think Texas is taking 2 running backs in the portal. And, we'll see who that second back is. But I'm guessing it's not been someone that folks are aware of yet or talked about yet.
Bobby, hold that thought because I want to come back to you here in just a sec. Let's get to a couple of these supers. Perry Giles, thank you for the super chat. Said the chat is full of annoying worry warts. Please grow a pair, y'all. Those are Perry's words, not mine, Perry. Thank you for the super chat.
Worry warts.
And then Crazy Monkey 256, thank you for the super chat. Says easy to spend money that's not yours. Hate the doom and gloom that is typical among Texas t-shirt fans / alumni / students. Seem to have no grounded takes. Yeah. So my astigmatism was kicking in there. It's getting late. Bobby, I want to go back though to CJ's point about Raleek Brown. You talked about guys with juice, and I like that term. Or our colleague Rod Baber says, hey, there are guys that move the chains, guys that change the game. Raleek Brown would appear to fall in the category of a guy who changes the game. Bobby, does Raleek Brown have the kind of juice you're looking for at running back?
Is he a first-round pick? The answer is no. Are Cam Coleman and Jaden Woods first-round picks to me? Yes. Is Andrew Sprague a potential first-round pick? Yes. Is Raleek Brown? I think he's more second, third, fourth round type guy. I do think he's a good player. I think he's a slightly better prospect than Trey Wisner, not appreciably. I think he's better. But I think the ones that have juice that are Cam Coleman, Jaden Woods, Andrew Sprague, I lean to Christian Alliegro and Cade Ululuava, and possibly Edwin Joseph being a little bit higher up that echelon, in my opinion.
What's probably lost in that is if he falls into a late day 2 or early day 3 pick at the running back spot, that's an area or talent-wise Texas hasn't had at the running back spot in 2 years. So I think if you're looking at it in that instance, hey, that's something, again, that would be a boost to the Texas run game, given that breakaway speed, at least not in 2025, was evident from that stable of backs, not consistently at least.
For sure. Good stuff, CJ. Let's go ahead and get to some more of these super chats. Cisco Diaz says, to the people complaining, what happens if these guys y'all want get hurt, money down the drain? I mean, that's the risk you run, I think, with anything. I mean, the best example, unless I'm just completely misremembering something, the best example for Texas in the portal era, Bobby, would probably be Isaiah Nair, who you brought in to be your running mate with Xavier Worthy, looked great in a spring game, and then got hurt in the camp, and we really never heard from him again.
Yep. Also came from a smaller school too. Texas has a real pinch, and I don't know if y'all noticed this, but they, other than Trey Moore, they really go after guys from bigger schools. They like guys that come portal ready, right, and player ready. The guys that are from these smaller schools, they usually take 5 to 6 games at least to even get it going. If y'all remember that happened with Trey Moore his first year at Texas. As good as Trey Moore became, right? His first 6 games, he was just a guy running around out there. So yes, it can be injury like Isaiah Nayor, or it can be the step up in competition that they're trying to get used to the speed of the game. But money goes down the drain a lot of ways, though, Cisco Diaz. It's not just via injury. I mean, it could be. Think about Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher. that's money down the drain, bud. Exactly. Isaiah Nayor would not have been a month's payment for Jimbo Fisher.
Let's move on with some more of these super. Sailor Joe, thank you for the super chat. Said, hear me out. Giovanni Gibson, OU wide receiver. Bobby, again, this is one of those things that until Cam Coleman makes a decision or Texas feels like he's made a decision publicly, I don't think we'll know what the next move is, if there is a next move.
I think Texas is going to probably take 2 wide receivers. I just think Cam Coleman's going to be the dude, right? Yeah. If they can get him, obviously. But I don't think they're going to take a guy like Giovanni Gibson from OU. They would look for somebody with more speed, like a true speed guy. Could be a slot, that sort of thing. I don't think it's going to be more production. You guys got to remember, not everybody's in the portal yet. Some people are still, sitting here talking about Texas guys still could go in the portal, right? Okay. Well, other teams still have guys that could go in the portal, and there's still 4 teams playing right now that have plenty of players that could still potentially go in the portal. So you got to watch for all of that.
CJ, you mentioned this a few weeks ago, and I've kind of adopted your line of thinking whenever I see a guy go into the portal and we get asked, hey, is Texas going to be interested in this guy? Not that you were spouting off, what the Texas staff is thinking or anything like that, but man, unless it's a really, really special circumstance, if you're taking a guy from the portal, I want that guy to have some experience.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a lot of what we were just mentioning. When it comes to playing at high levels of football, playing with a lot of experience, putting a lot of production on the board, Texas has been very focused on finding guys that check all of those boxes. And Jeff, I know that we talked about it a lot with the offensive line as well. To me, I don't want anybody coming off injury when it comes to finding my next piece. And another thing for me is, hey, I don't want anybody on my offensive line specifically where I have to then move them to a different position to then teach them all year something that they're not accustomed to. Now hey, we don't know. It certainly could play out that way, but there's certain little traits I'd like to live by if I'm in a position like this. So that's one of them. But ultimately, production experience, that all matters very, very much at this level.
Not saying they do it, but to your point, if you're going to do that, if you're going to take a guy coming off injury or a guy that you got to do a position change, I'd rather take my chances seeing where Andre Kojo is coming off the injury and maybe spending an entire spring seeing if Nick Brooks can play guard. Like, I think that would be a better use of your time, I think, to your point, than going into the portal and trying to find guys from the outside to do those things, which aren't ideal to begin with. But I think am I wrong, CJ? Would you rather do it with in-house guys and get guys from the portal?
Well, I think that's part of it, right? You know, if you're going to have to change positions or whatever, I mean, at least do it with the guys that know the system, that have, you know, been around your locker room, know your coaches, your system, everything about it. So I absolutely think that's the case. Now, it's going to be interesting for Kojo specifically. Look, coming off of a big knee injury like that at that weight, you know, how does he move laterally? What's his first step look like? Is he able to, you know, get that mobility right? I think is something that you're also going to have to deal with when it comes to building that depth as well.
All right, SHS Bulldog, got a lot of super chats, got to power through them here. It says, I'm not panicking yet. Like Bobby said, big fish are still out there. Do we take a look at Quincy Porter? There are good players that can still jump in the portal, what we just talked about. Bobby Quincy Porter, former 5-star prospect. Again, wide receiver is a different deal, but that's not saying him specifically, but that to me is the kind of deal where, with the experience exception, that might fit the bill.
Yeah, I agree with you. This, when y'all were talking about experience, there's two categories, right? There's guys that have a lot of experience and success, and you want those to be your frontline guys. Well, you're going to want to take a Zion Williams in that category too. And I don't think he saw any action at LSU this year as a freshman defensive tackle, but Texas wants to see if they can bring him along. He won't come in on this huge NIL deal or something, right? And they try to bring him along. Dante Simpson, a young man from Miami, similar situation. Did not see a lot of action. They'll see if they can bring him in and bring him along. He's only a true freshman. So there's two categories there. There's the big fish, the ones that Texas is really shooting for the moon, and there's guys that they're trying to build depth with. And maybe to y'all's point, CJ and Jeff, maybe one of those guys that are depth pieces turn out like Hero Canoe and outperform expectations.
100%. It's always good when you can get a guy. I mean, I would say Andrew Makuba outperformed expectations because coming off the injuries, quite frankly, I didn't know that Texas was getting an all SEC level player with Makuba. You knew the potential was there, but you just didn't know for sure given the injury situation. Hookem 409, thank you for the super chat, said, so here's where I think a big chunk of the fear comes from. How far of a drop-off are we looking at talent-wise if we wait another week and miss on the quote-unquote big game? CJ, I'll start with you on this, man, because this is what we don't know. This is similar to high school recruiting. We have portal rankings, and we individually might have our preferences when a guy hits the portal. We don't know what that Texas board looks like, and the Texas staff just might have different evaluations on guys than the general public does, or than from one school to the other, it might differ.
Yeah, I mean, again, you brought him up earlier tonight, Jeff. I mean, Hero Canoe, where would he have fallen on all of this a year ago? And he goes out and he plays the most snaps of any Texas defensive lineman in 2025. So that's part of it. It all goes down to trusting the staff that they have a plan B, C, D, whatever it is to get to a guy that they want, or if all of this was a smokescreen and the guy that they truly wanted from the get-go was someone that, hey, we wouldn't have known until, pen meets pad. So that's part of it. To this point, there's 10 days left in the portal. You kind of have to sit there and let the chips fall as they lie. And that's something that I think with this portal and the way that things have evolved in college football, this year it's new because, again, you don't have that extra portal window to go then address needs that you didn't in the first window in case you did miss a guy that you were really after. So it's all about making sure that the next guy up is something that the staff is, I think is well aware of.
Bobby, this is something we were talking about that Texas is dealing with right now. McCluskey, thank you for the super chat, says if a player is considering staying where they are, but the agent is also talking with other teams, why enter the portal right away? Surprises coming before January 16th. I mean, that's kind of that, I don't know what you want to call it, golden ticket for lack of a better term, but that's that trump card that players have is, hey, if we're not meeting in the middle somewhere here, I can always go into the portal and try my hand at free agency.
Yeah, I think that's correct. I mean, I think that they are working the back channels, but also some players have to go in early. You got to remember that because maybe the market dries up at a certain position. And quarterback in particular, right? Like the fact that this Washington quarterback is going in this late, I mean, he's not as likely to have found his landing spot now when there are fewer takers at his position. I mean, because you think about it, he could have been considered for multiple landing spots, whether it was Nebraska or Kentucky, and those spots are all taken up. So I look at it like it depends a little bit on the position, and it depends on your pecking order and what kind of player you are.
Yeah, in case you missed it, that broke during the show. Damon Williams Jr., the Washington quarterback, headed to the portal. A lot of LSU buzz on Damon Williams, so we'll see.
How many are they going to have? They're going to take. Is Lane Kiffin going to take 6 quarterbacks? Maybe.
Well, you know, the guy that was their starter, CJ. I know we were at SEC Media Days, and you were higher on Austin Simmons, I think, than a lot of people. And you ended up making this playoff run. If you're Ole Miss, you're in the semifinals, and Austin Simmons hasn't been a part of it because he got hurt. And Trinidad Chambliss literally took the ball and ran with it. He's been your guy. So I don't know, Bobby. Maybe just the more the merrier at quarterback. I don't know. Lane Kiffin stockpiling quarterbacks. I don't know if he's going to run a single wing offense in Baton Rouge or what, but I guess we'll find it here before too long. Forrest Eldridge, thank you for the super chat. Bobby, the problem is everyone trying to convince us that we are quote unquote all in, just like we are quote unquote all gas, no brakes.
Texas is all in. I mean, I don't know how else to say that to you guys. Texas is all in. You may not like the results because sometimes when you go all in, you don't win. Right? But Texas is all in. Y'all just don't see it. I mean, everybody that they want has a very healthy NIL offer. Okay? So if you don't think Texas is all in, they prioritize guys, they brought guys in. I don't know what to tell you. Doesn't mean just because you're all in doesn't mean you're going to win. Is that what all in means in poker? When you put all the chips in the middle, are you necessarily going to win? No. That's what I'm trying to say.
I think I've been burned enough.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you guys. I mean, things happen.
Somebody on the on Texas football message board today said, hey, all in doesn't mean you go all in at the poker table and then you just grab the pot and automatically bring it into you. It's not how that works. I think Vegas.
Wish it was. Shoot, Jeff.
Yeah, if that was, I think a lot of us here would be singing different tunes. Juan Garza, thank you for the super chat. CJ, you're right. Last year, start fast, close fast in 2024. But remember, they have 2 portals. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. I underestimated the volatility in the portal this year. I knew it was going to be a lot, but I just didn't anticipate it was going to be as much as it has been.
I got to say this, the big difference this year between the previous years, more people have money. More people have money to keep players. And what I mean by that is like some teams do go above the cap, but at least certain teams have the cap at least to keep players.
How much of that, Bobby, do you think is also, what is it? We saw 37 coaching changes this year. And with coaching changes, you see buy-in from boosters, from alums, whatever, to say, hey, he's our guy now. Let's get him off the ground running quickly. Because last year, is the first year since the early 2000s where no SEC teams changed head coaches. And this year across the country, the carousel was moving faster than probably it ever seen before. I think to an extent that also plays a role, making sure that, hey, our guy is in a position where he's not fighting up the steepest mountain he could find in year one.
Well, I think we need to rename Penn State Iowa State at State College. I mean,
Oklahoma State mean green.
Yeah. Oklahoma State North Texas at Stillwater. I mean, whatever you want to mix that is. Was it 19 guys from Iowa State have transferred to Penn State so far? Is that right?
Yeah.
No,
I mean, something like 85% of North Texas's offense has transferred to Oklahoma State at this point.
Yep.
So I think there's a little bit of that, CJ. To your point, I don't know how much the increased excitement that you get by adding a new coach has caused the market to change. I think the biggest factor, again, is that everybody now is online with revenue sharing, and that's raised the market for the above rev share portal guys. That's what I think. There's more money total now.
All right. Aaron Smith, you had a super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Aaron. If you got a question, go ahead and get it. We'll get yours up. But again, thank you for the super chat. Jason with the super chat says it's a frustrating mistake that we went all in on the Michigan O-lineman. This team could really go into next year worse on the O-line. That is unacceptable. I'll say it's not plural with the linemen because, yes, Jay Guarnera is going to stay at Michigan, but Andrew Sprague still in the portal, still a target for Texas at this point.
I think it could be up to tomorrow. And we might learn the outcome of Sprague. Again, I will say this: Texas feels confident that they have other guys that they can get in and through the portal and signed by the end of this week. Is that really true? I don't know, but I think they feel confident about it. Let's see what happens.
Yep. Yeah. Clay G, thank you for the super chat. So it feels like a majority of the fuss around O-line specifically is the lack of distrust and flood that has surfaced in the past 1 to 1.5 years. So it's straight to dooming when an O-line hasn't landed yet. CJ, fair or not, I just think it really soured. I wasn't happy with the way it played out either. Sometimes it happens. I think the staff just miscalculated where they were on the offensive line going into 25. I'm not excusing it. It's just one of those things that happens, but I think it's pretty evident that's left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, the miscalculation last year.
Yeah, I think, when you look at this past Texas team, where was, kind of the start of all the frustration, and it was that group up front. But, look, for 4 years, we sat there and said, hey, the Texas offensive line was in a good spot. Now, Coach Flood gets the opportunity in going into 2026 to, in a way, kind of redeem 25, right? Because that wasn't the best Texas offensive line that we had seen. But in a way, it's weird how in football, a lot of things just pile and pile and pile. And, for offensive line, it's almost in a way saying, hey, I need something to go through the hoop now, and you just got to see the sunlight at any point, because it's felt, I don't want to go back to the gloomy word, but for the offensive line, it's felt gloomy over the last 6 months or so. So we'll see. Obviously, Sprague's a big one. And where else Texas goes on the offensive line after this, I think would then put Texas in a position to be much improved going into 2026. And let's not forget, Brandon Baker, Trevor Gooseby are two guys that you can absolutely build a solid offensive line around regardless, right? So getting Gooseby back, let's not forget, Bobby, you mentioned it several times earlier tonight, top 15, top 20 player in all of college football going into 2026. That is as big as a retention as anybody out of the portal that you could have gotten.
Yeah, you'll have the number one left tackle in college football, potentially, right? I would also say if they bring back Connor Robertson, they'd have 3 of 5 starters returning. Not bad.
Yeah.
You're already ahead of last year where you only had 2 of 5. Bobby, we'll get to the rest of these super chats, but let's go ahead one more time. Give a shout out to our lead sponsor for the live stream tonight. That's Andy Ludicky of My Perfect Franchise.
Yeah. Guys, if you're looking to do something new in 2026 with your life, maybe change things up, start your own business if you've ever wanted to, make sure you talk to Andy Ludicky. He's the owner of myperfectfranchise.net. He helps people and families get into franchise businesses. He takes you through a process step by step that asks you questions and identifies your wants and needs within a business, what your strengths are, and that sort of thing, and pairs you with businesses of your choice. Give him a call, 404-973-9901. That's 404-973-9901, or reach out to him, Andy, at myperfectfranchise.net. That's Andy at myperfectfranchise.net.
All right. Thank you, Bobby. All right. Let's go ahead and get back to the super chats. Rocky P. Should Texas make a run at Quincy Porter? I think we've talked about that a little bit. Remains to be seen. what the plans. But Bobby, just to reiterate, in case anybody's joining us late, do you think Texas the number is 2 at wide receiver?
I do, but I don't know. I think it's definitely 1, but I think they could go to 2. I don't think that. I think they'll still look for another ad, but I think it'll be more of a depth piece. But they're gonna. Cam Coleman is priority 1, guys.
Yep.
Not sure how else to say. So Quincy Porter, he just went in. He's a 5-star receiver last year that signed with Ohio State. He decided to go in the portal. That's a lot of bounce backs, man. So we'll see what happens. But I don't. As of right now, I don't think Texas has plans with Quincy Porter.
Bandit, thank you for the super chat. At this rate, OU might score 10 points. Wow,
Parker Livingston. We haven't even talked about it.
Yeah, CJ, we haven't had any questions on it tonight, but I don't know if you want to address the Livingston thing or Bobby if you want to, but that's a done deal today with him signing with Oklahoma.
Look, I don't have much to say. You know, I think Oklahoma's a spot he originally wanted to attend, or at least had hoped to be recruited by out of high school. Then when you cross the Red River and you put on the burnt orange, it's one of those things where if you ever were to put on a Sooner helmet, all that love kind of goes out the window from the Texas fans, and that's part of it. But no, I think if you're Parker, I know that a lot's been made of the deals and opportunities. I wish him the best.
Well said, CJ. Michael Williams, thank you for the super chat. Said, I don't get the doom and gloom. Portal just started. Find the Matthew Golden types at a few positions. Jerry talked about the Wisconsin linebacker that isn't rated high, yet is a really good player. Doomers need to take a chill pill. I mean, I'll say the Christian Allegro, the Wisconsin linebacker. Bobby, so much information is flying at us. Probably between Texas and Ohio State right now for him.
Yes, and we think it could be a decision could be as soon as tomorrow or Thursday. And Jerry was right when he said he didn't care where the Wisconsin linebacker was rated. And guess who's happened to be recruiting him? 2 of the top 5 programs, top 10 programs in the country, Texas and Ohio State. Jerry was right. And we'll see whether or not Texas can get him. But Doomers do need to take a chill pill because the die is not cast.
Yep.
The Rubicon has not been crossed. Whatever you want to say. No.
Yeah. If Will Muschamp and Matt Patricia think you're good enough, you're probably good enough. DC Mountain Line, thank you for the super chat. I need a hat to wear when we get the big super chat. So I gotta step my game up. But DC Mountain Line says, thank you to this crew for giving the best coverage, period. Unless Bobby freaks, this community shouldn't. Patience Grasshopper also. The wife says she likes CJ's beard, ladies.
I like this. DC Mountain Line, thank you very much. Look at that. Hey.
Do not encourage this.
That's good.
Do not encourage this.
That's worthy of the little mini sombrero gift, Matthew. I don't know if we have that. I don't know if we have that back in the archives there, but
we haven't seen that one in a while.
We haven't seen it. CJ, where's the have? Hey, that super chat deserves the have a day hat, I think.
Oh, the have a day hat?
Yeah. You have it handy? All right. This is we'll pause programming. This is worth it. This is worth it.
Don't know.
Let's have a day.
Yeah.
Guys. We're having a day. It's a portal day. There's a commitment. Texas gained a commitment. I said someone told me I got a great beard. I mean,
I thought for sure he's gonna break out the Cheez-It hat that we saw on game day.
We did do that last night.
Then you might. I don't know. Does it hide the beard or accentuate it? That would be my question with the Cheez-It hat. So that's the only concern there. But at any rate, DC Mountain Line, thank you for the super chat. McCluxy, another super chat. Thank you for the super chat. Said there are lots of portal trackers online, but what about players who haven't entered the portal but also haven't signed for next year, running back specifically? Yeah, Bobby, those are the guys that are kind of in, let's call it transfer limbo at this point. Haven't re-signed, but haven't entered the portal yet.
Yeah, I think that's a great term. And we'll have to wait and see what occurs. But there are definitely running backs out there that might jump in the portal that Texas would go after. And I think that We just need to, again, people want everything done. Some things are going to go your way and some things aren't. It's how you react to that when they don't that will help figure out whether or not this is a successful portal. Alongside, do you get a few of these A+ guys that you're really going after? It's got to be, you're never going to get everybody you go after. That's like pie in the sky. Okay. I'll give you an example. Cody Campbell thinks he's getting number one guys. He's not. He's getting some number one guys, but not all of them. Right. You got to get a couple of those, and then you got to fill your needs. That's reality. And I think that we'll see what happens with a running back on as it relates to that. Does another one jump in the portal to go along with somebody like a Raleek Brown who's expected to visit Texas tomorrow?
And I'll add, you still got to develop your guys too, like Cade Phillips, Anthony Smith, Lance Jackson. Like, you got guys on this roster that still, I mean, those guys aren't done growing, and you got to develop them. So the player development piece doesn't stop. Kyle, thank you for the super chat. Says thoughts and prayers for Jordan Shipley and his family. Bobby, you want to just re-rack that real quick? Because we've been on here a while, but man, it's a lively tonight. Thanks to everybody for their participation, but somebody might just be jumping on Bobby. I don't know if you wanted to reset that.
Yeah, absolutely. I could definitely say that again. Earlier today, Jordan Shipley was involved in an accident on his ranch, whereby he was burned in over 20% of his body. He was care flighted to Del Seaton Hospital in Austin. He underwent surgery earlier today. We work with his dad, Bob, here at On Texas Football. Bob called me about 20 miles out of Austin after he found out about his son. And I want to say this. It's very interesting because when I took the call from Coach Shipley today, I was actually with my daughter, who's home for the holidays a little bit. And it hit me in the heart, man. And so I know he's there with Jordan right now and Jordan's family. And our prayers go up to him. Hopefully it is a good recovery, but I do know this, he's got a long recovery ahead of him. Burns are a serious thing. And the risk is infection at this point, I believe. He's going to have more surgeries ahead of him too, other than the one that he had today.
All right. Thank you for that, Bobby. We'll combine a couple supers here. NTX Horn says Cam Coleman thoughts, trending Bama, Texas lead. And then P Tracer says, what does the loss of the O-line look like to Coleman when A&M is filling their O-line needs? He had to deal with a bad O-line last year already. He's going to be a top draft pick no matter where he goes. I don't know, CJ, is it just me being naive? I don't know if Cam Coleman looks at it that nuanced.
I think he probably looks at the quarterback a little bit more than that.
Thank you.
I mean, above anything, a good quarterback can get the ball where it needs to go, regardless of the offensive line. Obviously, not as consistently, but if you're picking between Arch Manning in the field, I mean, that's got to be as big a piece of the puzzle as just about anything else.
Alabama doesn't know who their quarterback's going to be next year. A&M's going to have Marcel Reed, and Texas Tech has Brennan Sorsby. Who's the best quarterback out of that group?
Not.
I mean, look, I'm not. I know people are saying, "Oh, well, Alabama's going to get them on campus. They've got a chance." Everybody has a chance. Nobody's saying they don't. Anybody trying to read too much into this recruitment, I think, is missing. Look, this is going to be a recruitment that goes until he makes a decision, goes and sees all the teams he wants to see, and then figures it out. I truly believe that. And I think Texas has a strong case, as strong a case, if not stronger, than anyone. I mean, this is going to be Arch Manning's last year. Okay? They have the pieces in place. I think Texas stands a really good chance here. I don't know for sure that they're going to sign him. They're going to go after him and not stop.
Real quick, Jeff, bit of news. I'm told Daniel Cruz will enter the portal. That is as of the last minute or two. Got a text that Daniel Cruz will be entering the portal. Again, this is 2 or 3 days after Nate Kibble also entered the portal. Texas, when we talk about the ever-changing landscape of college football, things can come and go in a heartbeat, essentially. This is another one. Daniel Cruz had been backing up at center over the last 2 years. Now he'll be looking for a new home as well. So Texas back to the drawing board when it comes to building and constructing a lot of this offensive line depth chart.
Yeah, not totally unexpected. Sucks because I know he was a young guy that the staff liked, but I think for 2026, I don't know how much he was going to help you this year. That's more of a Connor Robertson or portal pickup. I want to combine a couple supers here. Bobby, Justin Yarbrough, thank you for the super chat. Said it's not time for yellow pants yet. Do we have an update on when Blake Gideon comes back to campus? And then Steven Maddox says, I think the coaching changes are a part of all in. Let them do their job there. Bobby, that to me, the Will Muschamp move, to me, maybe more than anything, any portal moves or whatever, that to me that screams all in. Sark could have kept PK and kept the status quo. And I think Texas would have been fine defensively. I just don't think Sark was okay with fine. I think he wants an aggressive defense that's going to force the issue, and he wants to change it up. That's a really big deal when you've got an elite defense, a defensive coordinator you've had that's taking you to the CFP semifinals twice, and then you make that change.
Yeah, I want to say this. First of all, the first question was about Blake Gideon. Blake Gideon is still at Georgia Tech and has not been announced by Texas yet. However, there's no change in our reporting at this point. We still think that Blake Gideon will ultimately end up being a coach at the University of Texas. It could be a contract issue. It could be a number of different things. We'll figure that out. And if Blake Gideon decides to say anything separately, we will certainly follow that. But he's not on campus right now. He's still at Georgia Tech. But we do believe that the plans are that he will eventually end up at Texas. But that being said, we got a lot of that. As far as the portal is concerned overall, and the players and the coaches being part of that, I do think that moving on from Chad Scott early at running backs coach, moving on from Pete Kwiatkowski and Dwayne Akina early on defense are part of Sark's plan for being all in for 2026. Otherwise, Will Muschamp wouldn't have gotten a look at the defense to see what he thought he needed. If you would just let Pete Kwiatkowski coach the defense in the bowl game, Will Muschamp wouldn't have been able to say, okay, this is what I need. This is what I need. He wouldn't have got to look at all the guys firsthand. He just couldn't have done that. So, yes, I do believe that was with an eye towards the future at Texas.
All right. Guy, CJ, do you have something? Sorry. Okay. Sorry, I must be hearing things at this point. My bad. Guy Q4E. Bobby, what would you consider a successful portal haul when all is said and done? Likewise, what would you consider a failure? CJ, I'll tee this one up for you real quick.
Well, I think first and foremost is, do you address the needs of your team? And, so far we've seen Texas address an over-the-ball defensive lineman at nose tackle. They went out and added a cornerback. All three specialist positions have been filled. Now it's about making sure that your offensive line is right. Now it's about making sure that you have a GoDaddy, in the words of Coach Shipley, at a running back position by the end of it, right? We still talk about a quote-unquote game-changing wide receiver. Texas is very much in the mix for the best player in the portal. And then linebacker. So there are certain needs for Texas still out there. I didn't mention, getting perhaps another game-changing edge rusher, which Texas is still very much in the market for, as well with Jaden Woods. So it's all about addressing the needs of this roster, which right now on January 6th probably will look significantly different going into the season, or even coming out of spring football. But you don't have the luxury of that. So you have to address them early and often now. And that's something that, when it comes down to being successful or not, it's basically a pure guess of, did they find enough talent at positions of need early?
Anything, Bobby?
O-line, linebacker, major needs. I think it'll be important for wide receiver. I think you need someone and while Coach Shipley says the GoDaddy running back, I agree with him. I think you just need players that change games. On top of addressing needs, you need game changers. So I consider a Cam Coleman and a Jaden Woods those kind of guys. I do. So maybe Christian Allegro, maybe Kedu Uliova. We'll see. Would love to have Andrew Sprague because I think he's a terrific player. We'll see who else may be in the portal that Texas goes after.
I'm seeing in the chat. I'm aware the Shipley family put a statement out. Do we have that, Matthew? Okay, thank you. I will read it on my phone rather than the screen. It said, and this was released through the University of Texas. It said Jordan was involved in an accident this afternoon near his hometown of Burnett. The machine he was operating on his ranch caught fire, and although he managed to get out, it was not before sustaining severe burns on his body in the process. He was able to get to one of his workers on the ranch who drove him to a local hospital. He was then care flighted to Austin, where he remains in critical but stable condition. The family hopes that everyone will keep Jordan in their prayers. That is the official statement from the Shipley family from Texas. So just wanted to make sure we read that because a lot of people in the chat were asking about it. Let's go ahead and get through. Gosh, thank you guys so much for the super chats. Chat has been lively tonight. I will try to get through these. They just keep coming, though. Jameson Washington, draft day movie. When the owner tells Sonny people come to pay to get wet, so they need a splash. Fans live for high five moments. I really think we will get splashes. Just going to take time. I said that yesterday. Hey, look, nobody's going to get excited about an inline tight end and a long snapper or punter kicker. They're not sexy, but man, those deals can cost, especially the specials. They can cost you games.
Yeah. Hey, if you wanted to splash, you should have gone to SeaWorld out there in Orlando last week. I'll tell you that. I like that analogy, though. That's a hell of a movie, draft day. I'm a fan.
That's one of my preferred watches on flights when I'm on a plane. I don't know. Draft day always seems to be on the menu when you're picking a movie. So
because it's so realistic.
Extremely, Bobby. Extremely realistic.
Everybody's going to trade down from the 1 and for the 5 to be in number 1. Yeah.
You got to make sure everybody shows up to the kid's birthday party. That's the biggest key.
Exactly. Do your homework on Bo Callahan before you draft them, kids. Duke's Tier 1, thank you for the super chat. Says the chastising of fans for their expectations is inappropriate. Based on the all-in declaration, expectations were created early on. There was no effort by OTF to temper those expectations. Bobby, you want to?
I'm not trying to temper the expectations. This is what you guys don't get. Like I've got no problem with Texas fans' expectations being, as high can get. I think that's part of what makes Texas Texas. Are those expectations? I think that the timing of those expectations are a little out of whack. You want everything today. You want it to be done and everybody to be happy and know exactly how, the best laid plan is going to work in, 4 days. I'm not chastising fans for their expectations being inappropriate from what they want ultimately to happen, like all the good players to come to Texas, or a lot of them at least. The timing of it is, though. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Let these guys work. Let the process play out. Then, if it doesn't work, then throw a fit. That's where I think that people miss part of what I'm saying. I'm not upset that people want to be great. Everybody wants Texas to be great. That is a Texas fan, period. I love it. I think that's awesome. But to expect the world to change in 4 days, it ain't happening. That's not the way the world works when the number 1 player in the portal hadn't decided. There's a miss. That's what I'm chastising about. You're wanting things done before they can be done. And you don't know how the portal has ended, and you're already judging it. That's the piece. And I appreciate you saying that and bringing it up. And perhaps I came off incorrectly or inappropriately. But my feelings are very strong in that this is far from over. And there are still, as good of players as there are in the portal on the hook right now for the Longhorns.
All right. Thank you, Dukester, for the super chat. Z-Baru with the super chat. Thank you. Actually, I want to combine Z-Baru and ace.com. Both your super chats are pretty similar. It says people's expectations for the portal are out of control. They saw Tech turn into a playoff bye-week loser. Now we have to do the same thing. We still have great athletes on the roster being developed. And ace.com 91 follows up with danged if you do, danged if you don't. If Tech wins a natty next year, they're geniuses for cashing out. If they go 3-9, they're idiots for overpaying. Everyone overreacts either way.
Tech's not winning a national championship next year. I'll just go ahead and tell you that. So I'm not worried about. I mean, I think people are they probably going to be in the college football playoff? Yeah, you know why? Because they play. I mean, they're basically trying to create a Big 12 All-Star team right now. But I just don't see them going to the. I don't see them winning games in the playoffs. If David Bailey is the closest thing to Myles Garrett I've seen in a long time. By the way. I'm gonna put that out. I think he's really, really good. You don't replace that guy. I mean, you can't. There's not a guy like that in the portal. So we'll see where all this other stuff goes. The question that I had there in going back to that first super chat of those two, Matt, could you pull that back up if you don't mind? I'm sorry, man. I'm losing my train of thought, dude. Matt's shaking his head at me behind the scenes right now. Like, what are you doing to me, Bobby?
I think
Matt, we're only an hour and 40 minutes into this. I mean, give me a break, right? I mean, we're only Matt can't find it. The thought process that I have as it relates to Texas and the portal is we're going to have to wait and be patient. At the same time, monitor who they're bringing and watch that and see where they can go with it. That's all we can do. I know for a fact they have guys set up for visits later this week that none of you guys have even thought about. Okay. So let's let it transpire before we judge. And ultimately, will Steve Sarkisian and Brandon Harris and Will Muschamp and everybody over there be judged at the end of this? Yes. And they should be. And you give them an A, B, C, D, or F. And we'll be here to debate that. But, don't get out over your skis right now.
All right. Craig Cunningham, we have back-to-back top recruiting classes. Even at the portal bus, we have talent to step up. Thoughts? Everyone's panicking, but we have young talent. You do. If it's inexperienced talent, you got to get experience. I mean, it's, you're going to have to put 11 on offense and 11 on defense on the field against Texas State in the opener, regardless of where you get them from. And you got spring ball. That was my only thought earlier. Even if you meet your needs in the portal, don't lose track of the player development piece. Even if those guys end up hitting the portal later, you recruited them, you still got to develop them, and maybe they become players at some point for you, even though the portal's throwing the player development track off whack. Jason Washington 1906, thank you for the super chat. Says prayers to Jordan. Yes, very much, for sure. Equinus Haddix, I hope I'm saying that right. This portal season could use a couple of joy mode, staying hopeful, also trusting that our developing recruits bear fruit, a la Christian Clark. Exactly. CJ, that super you got earlier, comment in the beard, that was a form of joy mode, was it not?
I was elated. Elation.
I don't want it to get off the rails. Bobby's shaking his head. We'll move on.
Big I was not used to the after dark over here.
I'm not used to this style of
Bobby's had to do coffee and football in the morning. We gotta keep it moving. Big and Zim, y'all act like Texas didn't just sign the #1 recruiting class, along with having arguably the best quarterback, left tackle, and edge in the country. Relax. I agree. Hey, I'm not saying any roster with Arch Manning and Colin Simmons is cooked by any stretch. Juan Garza, thank you for the super chat. Was Gooseby supposed to announce this week? Bobby, I don't know. It's any day.
No, it is this week. It's supposed to be this week. It's supposed to be this week. He has re-signed. As you'll know, we confirmed the report by Kurt Bowles. He has re-signed with Texas. He now is deciding between returning to Texas and going to the NFL draft. Now, he did go out to California early this week to meet with some folks. So we'll see what the result of that is. But as of right now, I would say he's leaning heavily to returning to Texas. But we'll get a final announcement later this week.
All right. Dro Franco, thank you for the super chat. Is there any other wide receivers Texas is interested in? I think we covered that quite a bit. I mean, it's Cam Coleman. They're going to take 2, and then we'll see where it goes from there in terms of what they do after that. Stuck in Boulder weather. Thank you for the super chats. So his chat was just as negative back in June. Y'all remember that tear that Sark went on very shortly after that. Patience. Good point. Stuck in Boulder weather. Thank you very much. Alan Harden, thank you for the super chat.
Super chat name, by the way.
Yes.
Stuck in Boulder weather.
There are worse places to be stuck. Trust me. I could be stuck in College Station or Lubbock. Did the interior O-lineman from Baylor that went to Kentucky get a visit? Wasn't he the top interior O-lineman? Bobby, again, that's one of those things. Top interior lineman for who? Might not have been the top interior lineman for Texas.
Yeah, I would say that the portal rankings that I've seen from all the companies are not really good. Just my personal opinion. And, that 24/7 on 3, I think they're a little all over the map because some of them really think about what the immediate impact of a player is. Like if he's just got this 1 year and they grade on that. And others, like last year, Micah Hudson is a perfect example. I think he was a top 50 portal recruit last year after being a 5-star the previous year, right? And the reality of it is he didn't do anything for Tech as a true freshman, yet people make him, since he was a 5-star in high school, he's all of a sudden a top 50 portal recruit. What do you have, like 8 catches this year for Tech? That doesn't sound like a top 50 portal recruit to me. And so rankings be damned. Pay attention to who teams that are recruiting him. That'll give you a better idea of a player's value. Texas did not bring in the Baylor center, I think it was. Is that right? That went to Kentucky with Will Stein.
Bobby, we got some breaking news here real quick from Hayes Fawcett on 3. It's the first person I saw report this. We've been talking about it a lot. Derek Williams will withdraw his name from the transfer portal and will return to Texas in 2026. So, we talk about roster retention. That's a really big part of it. So there it is. We've had quite a few Derek Williams questions in the chat. Bobby, this is one we've been monitoring. See if it was going to happen. We talked about Will Muschamp and Derek Williams. People had talked. And, hey, I don't know if you're still going to the portal to get a safety. I'm sure, Edwin Joseph would fit that safety nickel that they're looking for. But Derek Williams coming back. It's a good deal.
Yeah. Derek Williams coming back is big because, look, he fits Muschamp's physical style of play a little bit more. I mean, Kwiatkowski liked to play 2 deep safeties a lot. Mm-hmm. And, now he brought guys up and, they came up. But I think Derek Williams will probably prosper in a Will Muschamp defense. It's more tailor-made for him than perhaps what the Kwiatkowski defense was. I do believe. I think that's a good piece to show that some guys are coming back and some guys aren't, etc.
Sorry, Bobby. CJ, any quick thoughts on Derek Williams coming back?
No, again, he was a guy as a true freshman was one of your better cover safeties. If he can, and again, another full year of rehabilitation, strengthening, and work with that leg, I think is going to be fantastic. This is, very much a positive. When you talk about retaining talent, when you talk about retaining a locker room, I think this is, a key piece to that 2026 puzzle. And I'm excited for what Derek Williams will bring to the field next year.
All right. Again, if you're just tuning in, Derek Williams withdrawn from the portal. He'll stay at Texas. That's according to Hayes Fawcett at On 3 was the first to report that. KD35, I'm the best. If the UW quarterback signed a deal and now went in, who's to say Ball and Brown don't reconsider too? The NCAA needs to put some guardrails on this. Boy, that is the statement of the year so far to fix things in the portal.
So I've got some news around this, by the way. According to Pete Thamel of ESPN, the UW quarterback actually signed a deal with Wisconsin. With Washington. Okay. He signed that deal and is still trying to go into the portal. All right. This is where it gets even more interesting. Sam Leavitt, the former Arizona State quarterback, we thought was headed to LSU after visiting Texas Tech, right? And was going to LSU. Apparently, he's now headed for a visit to Tennessee. So Tennessee has put their hat in the ring. So maybe whoever said that the UW quarterback was going to LSU, they might be right. So there it is. What Washington sources say, this is from Pete Thamel of ESPN, Washington sources say they are prepared to pursue all legal avenues to enforce Damon Williams' signed contract. Woo! What do we say to that?
If anybody's gonna put guardrails on this thing, it ain't gonna be the NCAA, because this can is kicked so far down the road that, I mean, it's pointless to expect them to do anything.
Yes.
Right.
You know, the one thing about Sam Levitt too is he can't be around this spring. His injury is such that he's not going to make spring ball. That may be something that's causing some level of questions or concerns with teams.
Yeah, I hope it's not the government, and I don't think it'll be the NCAA. So I don't know who's going to start enforcing this stuff, but somebody will before too long. I just don't know what entity it's
one
going to
day.
be. Let's see. Again, Katie 35 I'm the best. Thank you for the super chat. Biggins MN. How to lose a guy in 10 days isn't just going to be a McConaughey movie going forward. It'll be a common phrase from coaches after the portal closes. Ain't that the truth? You'll soon realize it. Thank you for the super chat. Do you think we add more money to Cam after misses? I guess add more money to the Cam Coleman offer. I guess is what the question is there. I don't know, Bobby, CJ, we talked about it too. It's not just a financial deal for Cam Coleman. He's going to be a multi-millionaire several times over 16, 17 months from now. So yes, the money is important, but it's not going to be everything for him. He's going to look at multiple factors. Dim Horns, thank you for the super chat. CJ, did OSU's Jeremiah Smith enter the portal today?
No, he did not. That was it's what the folks like to say. You got ball sack sports there. So That's one of those parody accounts there. Got to watch out where you get your news from.
Yeah, I would be careful on Facebook because apparently Arch was transferring today too. Somebody sent me that.
The Facebook posts are crazy. You'll see something like Arch cured cancer all by noon, and then all of a sudden he's up in the portal by 3 p.m. So you gotta stay away from the Facebook posts.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, man, if Jeremiah Smith entered the portal, that was a pretty big news flash that I missed at some point today. I didn't get that one. Rodney Smith, thank you for super chat. Texas is all in. They're just not Texas Tech all in. Take that for whatever it's worth. Worldwide Blends, thank you for the super chats. And I think
time out. Give me a break. Stop with this. I mean, stop. I mean, I feel like you guys missed the point. You're thinking, oh well, it's just not the same. One team needs 15 to 18 players. The other one's going to try to sign 30 players in the portal. It's two different categories. Texas doesn't need newsflash. Texas probably doesn't need a left tackle. Newsflash. Texas doesn't need a quarterback. Newsflash. They don't need 8 defensive linemen like Texas Tech does this year. I mean, that just because they're signing guys, how many guys do you think Texas Tech has signed right now that Texas would have liked to have signed? One? I think that's it at this point.
Yeah.
So and that's the defensive tackle from Wake Forest.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody else that Texas was like, oh, we got to have that guy. So, I mean, it's all relative, guys.
Hero Canoe, Alex January, defensive tackle is not a huge. It's actually not a huge need for Texas in this cycle for once, which is kind of.
And they got Ian Jafard, who they wanted first as an over the ball defender.
Mm-hmm. Taking care of specific situational needs.
I'm just trying to get real. Intermission.
Yeah, we're trying to power through. Look, we need Bobby alive for coffee and football in the morning. So let's see what we can do here. Worldwide Blends. I said I think we become spoiled and want instant grits when it comes to the portal. I think we will get everyone we're intended to get, Coleman included. Appreciate the optimism. DeFranco said, do y'all think Texas players do y'all think the players Texas brought in were true culture fits? I don't. If they were guys that left with offers that the staff has pursued, I mean, I don't think they would pursue them if they weren't.
I totally
No,
agree.
I will say this. I mean, you don't always know, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't know Ajay Hall was, not going to be, or Isaiah Bond really wasn't, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain guys that aren't going to be, but you think they're going to be, and try to vet that as well as you can. But it's no different than recruiting. Sometimes you bring in guys that you thought were going to be good for your culture, and they turn out being the opposite. So you don't know that answer, is my point, on every single player.
Pablo, I see the chat. I'm due to the eye doctor at some point in the next 6-8 weeks. So trust me, the readers are probably on the to get list at this point. Guy Q4E, thank you for the super chat. Said if Texas loses Coleman due to being outbid, they aren't all in. I understand you can't overpay for everyone, but you've got to do what's necessary to get at least one big playmaker. Can't lose that to A&M. Juan Garza super chat said, does Alabama have a better quarterback than Texas for Cam? No. I mean, doesn't matter what Ty Simpson comes back or Austin Mack. I'm not taking anybody in college football in 2026 over Arch Manning. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think so. I mean, y'all have anybody better than Arch as of right now? But CJ may have somebody.
No, don't even do this. Don't even do this.
Don Mateer, you think?
Don't even do it.
I'm
about to put a hole through the wall over there.
Oh, man.
Marcel Reed, Billy Lucci, where are you at?
Oh, that's how we know we're getting late in the night there.
Yeah. Dylan, true or false?
It's past my bedtime.
Dylan, true or false? Your confidence level that Texas will land a stellar portal class has gone down. If true, how much?
Well, it hasn't gone down. I mean, I think it's going to be a pretty pointed class. And I think if it has two guys with a lot of juice and fills roles and starters, I'm excited. 4 to 5 starters and 2 guys that have some real juice. And then the rest fill it in.
Can I say something real quick?
Sure, CJ, go ahead.
Just got a big new follower on Twitter. I'm going to try to show it. Yeah.
Wow.
How about that?
You are having a day, CJ.
I'm excited. That made my day.
This is the CJ Vogel super chat.
Hell yeah.
This will be like Jordan's 63-point game in the Garden. This is that super chat for CJ. Circle of Trust, thank you for the super chat. Sark and company busting their tails to bring in the best possible players. What I'm really concerned about is Jordan Shipley's health and his family. Us fans can hopefully unite for this at the very least. Absolutely 100% well said, Circle of Trust. All right, Cube said, I want a roster 200 players deep of the top 200 players in America, or I'm not satisfied. Wouldn't we all love that? Thank you for the super chat. Billy Woods, thank you for the super chat. The landscape of college football, the committee, CFP, and the media delivering information. Wrong decisions could potentially be made. There's a thin line between drinking wine and squashing grapes. Any thoughts on that, guys? Anything to add?
Dude,
Hell of a line at the end.
I think that college football right now is I don't know if I ever remember or can make a comparison. Maybe somebody out there has a good comparison for us of a sport or even an industry, maybe, that is in such a good place in one way and such a crappy place in another way. Like, I guess I compared it the other day to a duck swimming on a pond. The duck looks really nice right now. That's the TV ratings and everything that comes out of college football, the college football playoffs. Everything looks gorgeous, right? I mean, the numbers are astronomical, never been better. But you look underneath the water and how that duck swims, and you're like, ooh, that's a joke. That's what it looks like to me. Is like you see what most of the public sees is this, nice little animal, and then you look below and there's a bunch of crap going on. I just don't know how else to say it other than that. Maybe there's another industry y'all have history in that you can compare it to, but I can't.
All right.
Maybe the sausage industry. There we go. Some good old, Kruska sausage or something like that.
We're talking
Down
sausage industry. Chat, keep your heads out of the gutter on that
Yeah.
one. Longhorn living Pete Thamel is reporting Washington is taking legal action against Demond Williams. It should be interesting to see how it plays out. Absolutely. We'll see what happens. Rocky P said, Bobby, I wore my OTF hat to the Texas game the other night and got stopped by a couple of people to talk about it. Y'all have built something amazing. Thank you, Rocky P. And thanks everybody for the super chat support. We appreciate it a ton.
Yes.
We're going to get through all of these mortgages with Britt. Said Jalen Mbakwe, Alabama wide receiver. Thoughts on getting him? I think it just goes back to we'll see what happens when Cam Coleman decides what he's doing. JR, thank you for the super chat. Said enjoying the show, gentlemen. One thing absolutely great about Wisner and how he secured the starting job. No fumbles. Remember, Blue lost the job, and Gibson and Clark also didn't protect the ball. That's something I don't think it's talked about enough. Texas is one of the best turnover margin teams in the country this past season. They did a really good job. I think they had one lost fumble all year.
And the most amazing stat of the year was Arch Manning.
Mm-hmm.
0 fumbles from a quarterback. How is that possible?
It was constantly under pressure as well.
I know. I mean, look, I think that's a phenomenal stat for a guy that started every game. And to CJ's point, not only also ran with the ball a lot, CJ.
Yep.
That's probably, of all of Arch's stats, that may be the one that's the most phenomenal.
100%. Let's see. Polo Platinum, thank you for the super chat. So what's up with Jonah Williams? He was the top rated commit from 2025, but I haven't seen him all year. Also, Khalil Lockett looked good versus Michigan. Jonah's in there playing special teams. A big thing for him. CJ's he'll be playing baseball this spring. So we'll see how it plays out with him.
Yeah, how does he juggle it? How often is he in the facility? Does he, get time at all with Muschamp in the spring? That's something that will certainly dictate a lot of how impactful he will be next fall. And so I think we're all hoping that his game is raised to a level that we saw glimpses of, but certainly want to see more of come next fall.
We'll combine a couple supers here. Slick Rick 2130 says Daniel Cruz to the portal. What is going on here? In case everyone missed, Daniel Cruz has announced he's going into the transfer portal. Don P says thoughts on Daniel Cruz entering the portal, and I'll tie that together with Jason's question, which I think actually is a really good point. I said brand new world when your developmental lineman won't stay long enough to develop. At this point, it seems pointless to take very many high school linemen. The advice they are getting is brutal. I think, CJ, that's something Sark talked about in the signing day press conference, that they're kind of having to change course a little bit and shift their line of thinking to go into the portal more. Where it had been exclusively high school, they're having to change with the times now.
Yeah, and again, it's ever changing. This is something that for Texas, you're up to, I believe, 4 offensive linemen have portaled out this year, and that's probably more than we've seen in the last 4 years combined since the portal started becoming more and more of the landscape of college football. So when it comes to now going out and attracting talent out of the portal on the offensive line, making sure that you have your depth, making sure that your young guys are still bought in and see the vision towards the field is going to be all the more important. And, look, I know that the Pancake Factory was big whenever it came to building this position room at Texas. Sustaining that room is going to be even as important moving forward, knowing, hey, back channeling happens. If you're a backup at Texas, you probably could start at 20, 30 schools across the country immediately. So making sure that these guys see the vision and those conversations with the staff are happening, everybody's on the same page, going to be all the more important.
Jeff Enneman's play-by-play is cracking me up here. Bobby and I are fine. Producer Matt's who I'm worried about, so we'll keep motoring on. Spence, thank you for the super chat. CJ, as Parker left, it threw me back to North Texas high school football circa 2015-16. Do you remember a linebacker named Bumper Poole, Lovejoy, all-time linebacker name?
Of course I do. Bumper and I are really good friends. I used to go to his house for Thanksgiving, or was it Christmas Eve every year. So shout out to Bumper Poole. Shout out to the Poole family. That's my guy.
Gerard Darling, thank you for the super chat. Said, remember, Bond was the portal big get. Golden was an afterthought. All worked out pretty cool there. I think we can agree on that. Dennis Donaldson said blaming OTF for setting fan expectations is a joke. Sark won't go back to back without a 1K rusher. Looks like it's Cooper. That's my thing with portal backs. I just want to put as much of a buffer between Derek Cooper and the field as possible. Don't want to lean on him as a true freshman. Bobby, the super chat from All Right Cubed, I think 10 people in this chat might get this reference. As Bobby's used to being asleep before Johnny Carson.
Yes. I don't think CJ wasn't alive when Johnny Carson was alive.
No.
Old Carmack, the great
92, 93 when Carson was the Tonight Show. Yeah.
Way before my time.
I think that Jay Leno was gone from the Tonight Show before CJ. Hey, you're like, how many Tonight Show hosts are you by now?
I knew Letterman.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
I knew Letterman. Like he's still alive, I think. I knew Letterman.
Jameson, Washington. The Big 12 is the new Mountain West. That's why Texas Tech looks so good. It's not your big brother's Big 12, Bobby.
It's not. I mean, when you lose your two marquee teams in Texas and OU, previously A&M, Nebraska, Colorado, Missouri, it's just not.
I think
Texas gave it a fatal. I think Texas and OU gave it a fatal blow. They're trying to hang on right now, and they either need to go to 3 leagues or down to 2 super leagues. I'm more convinced ever now with all this transfer portal and the amount of money being spent that college football. I make this for those that don't watch the morning show. I've tried to say this before. Major League Baseball has 30 or 32 teams, right? Pro football, same number. Okay. College football tries to have 136 teams. That's like at the FBS level. That's like having not only the major leagues, but all the way down to single A, all in one league. That's where this is wrong. Separate, get to 46, 48, whatever the number is, figure out who wants to spend $30 million or $40 million a year on a roster. And if you don't, you're out.
One last thing there on the Big 12. We've been doing conference realignment long enough that Colorado's had a chance to leave and then come back. And I'm old enough to remember when Nebraska was in the Big 12 and when Nebraska was good. Yes, kids, there was a time where Nebraska football was actually a competitive program. We'll combine these two here at the end. CJ, DC Mountain Lion says, glad she made your night, CJ. She liked to blush on DC Mountain Lion's wife liking your beard. And then Dennis Donaldson says, CJ ain't raising portal expectations. Your thoughts, CJ?
Hey, no. Well, first, I did blush pretty hard from that beard conversation. I'll remember that one for sure, DC Mountain Lion. But no, again, I think it's part of handling the portal. And you hear names, you get excited, you see, how everything falls out, and you sit there and you say, okay, well, what's the next course of action? You never want to get too high. You never want to get too low. It's kind of like, what is the saying, Jeff? It's the eye in the sky never lies.
Yeah, the big eye in the sky don't lie.
You never want to get too high on one play. You never want to get too down on the next play. So that's how it is for me. Obviously, moving forward, you have 10 days, right, for this portal, 10 days to construct this roster. Texas already with 6 commits in the class. They've retained Derek Williams, which in a way is another win out of the portal. So moving forward, how can you continue to bolster this roster? That's going to be the key objective for me. Ultimately, look, you're in it for the right guys. And to the point that we were trying to make earlier, you're not going to win them all, but you certainly can't win any of them if you're not going big game hunting to begin with. So let's just see how everything plays out. But all in all, look, a lot of time to go.
Bobby, last one. I'm going to put this on the tee for you and hand you the driver. Texas Blake says, it's my understanding that the staff isn't losing sleep over Parker Livingston leaving, but annoyed at the insinuation he was forced out.
Fair. That's a well-put statement, Texas Blake. Look, Texas had a frank conversation with Parker Livingston that I don't think he liked either financially or future-wise. Because Emmett Mosley, Ryan Wingo are going to be 1-2 or 2-3. in 2026. That doesn't leave a guaranteed spot for Parker Livingston to start. Emmett Mosley, about midway through the season when he came back and got healthy, beat Parker out for that spot. Now, Parker still was heavy in the rotation. Sark really only used 4 receivers most of the year. But to want a bigger role, that's what it really came down to, and he didn't get it. He didn't get those assurances, and he didn't get the money that maybe comes with a bigger role. So he'll try to go be the 3 or 4 receiver at Oklahoma, I guess. That's because that's what he's likely would be there too.
All right, I had one more super chat come in from Mike Torres. Said, is there any scenario in which Arch pulls a Matt Leinart and comes back, or under what circumstances would he return for an additional year? Hard for me to see it right now, CJ, under any circumstance.
Shoot, if the Jets are back up at the top, I'll tell him to come back. No, I mean, he's going to be 1-1 next year. I believe that 100%.
He has the best pocket presence of any quarterback in college football right now, and better than Fernando Mendoza, who's going to go 1-1 this year. CJ,
Yep.
People don't realize, and I do believe, I will say this, that pocket presence means more in pro football than it does in college football. Right? Because you can be a great athlete in college football and get away with some things that you can't get away with in pro football. So pocket presence and ability to move within the pocket become outsized values, in my opinion, once you get to the pro game.
All right. So during the show, we've had Bo Masco, the Rutgers cornerback, commit to Texas. We've had Daniel Cruz announce his intention to enter the portal. Derek Williams, the Texas safety, is getting out of the portal and coming back to Texas. We've also got upcoming visits for Raleek Brown, the running back out of Arizona State. Plenty of stuff. We didn't cover it all here. I want to thank everybody first off for the super chats, and the chat was lively. Thanks everybody for the support. We didn't cover it all. If you want the latest up to the minute information that we've got it over on TexasFootball.com. Take advantage right now of our Portal Madness special. Your first month of access at OnTexasFootball.com for just $1. We've got all kinds of threads, the news, notes, and nuggets. Anytime we get something, we all drop it there. So again, get over to OnTexasFootball.com. Take advantage of our Portal Madness special. And thanks to everybody that's already taken advantage of it. And again, this is for first-time subscribers. So if you've been thinking about it, now's the perfect time to jump in. $1 for your first month of access. I want to thank our sponsors for tonight, including our lead sponsor, Andy Ludicky and My Perfect Franchise. Big thank you to Mark Saunders, Allstate, Advanced Pain Care, and Duck Camp. I don't know if CJ's heading out. I can't speak for CJ's whereabouts, but hey, the next time we'll be live, it'll be Bobby and company on Coffee and Football tomorrow morning. Make sure you get your questions ready for those guys. Who knows? Hey, news will probably drop overnight and early in the morning before the show starts. So we will get it for you over on TexasFootball.com as it drops. And again, we'll be back first thing in the morning with Coffee and Football. Bobby, before we get out of here, I'll let you just reset one more time the situation with the Shipley family before we get out of here.
Yeah, it sounds like Jordan made it through surgery well, and he's still in serious / critical condition at Dell Seton Hospital. Please keep him in your prayers. He was burned over 20% of his body, according to his father, who told us about it and wanted to make sure Longhorn fans out there tried to lift him up. Pray for him if you would. For he and his family. Bob, of course, one of our guys here at On Texas Football, great family guys. I mean, just this one hits hard because not only was Jordan Shipley a great player at Texas and all this other stuff, he's still relatively young. He's got a young family, a great family, that great brothers and sisters. I mean, just it's tough, but he's fighting, and right now the prognosis overall is positive, but he remains in serious or critical condition, but stable at this point.
All right. And with that, for Bobby, for CJ, for producer Matthew, the MVP tonight, behind the scenes, making everything happen. Everybody, thank you for the participation tonight. We'll see you first thing in the morning on Coffee and Football. And until then, look 'em.
Longhorns.